What is going on, guys? Today we're talking about how to store your Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I'm going to give you 10 of the best ways in 3 different categories of storage because, guys, there really is no best way to store. It's all about personal preference on your personal situation, depending on what you prioritize. Maybe it's security over convenience or vice versa. So we're going to discuss that. You can see we've also got some cold storage hardware wallets here, which are going to be the most secure, which we're going to discuss the pros and cons of those. We're also going to talk about software or hot wallets, the benefits there, and we're going to talk about exchanges. So those are the 3 main ways you're going to be storing your crypto as someone who's moderately passionate about the space. If you're only interested in the cold storage hardware wallets, feel free to skip ahead to the end because we're starting off with exchanges. Guys, this is where 99% of people are going to start off, and that's fine. This is where I started off. It's where I would actually recommend starting off. And the reason for that is simply ease of use. The simplicity user experience is simply the best. You get customer service, helplines. The whole purpose of these things really is onboarding people into crypto. And even as you get more advanced, chances are you're still going to use exchanges, because another benefit is they can have some of the cheapest fees for converting your fiat into crypto and for sending your crypto place to place. Take Coinbase, for example. They have a premium service for $30 per month, and you can trade with no fees. That's going to be a lot cheaper than buying your crypto from some website with your credit card, or meeting up with some shady dude in an alley bargaining for the price, or even doing on-chain transactions some of the time. Shakepay is another app. You can not only trade with no fees, but you can actually send crypto, and Shakepay will cover the cost of those transaction fees. And these ETH fees can be $5, $10, sometimes even maybe more. So if you need to transfer some crypto, sometimes this can be the best way to use an app like Shakepay. I use these things all the time to this day. I'll put the links in the description to all this stuff so you guys can check it out, and you can use it too if you like. Other things I wanted to mention, and this kind of falls under ease of use, is the variety of coins in one place you can simply store. Now, you might not get a full variety, but take crypto.com for example. You have a variety of over 250 cryptos on multiple chains, multiple ecosystems, all in one wallet. Don't have to change chains or anything like that. It's all right there. Very nice user experience and even customer service if you need it. So there's 3 ways to store your crypto on exchanges that I use: Coinbase, crypto.com, and Shakepay. Great for short-term, small holdings for day-to-day use and transactions. Now, the unfortunate part about storing your crypto on exchanges, and it's a big one, is your third-party risk. So what does that mean? It means you're trusting a third party to hold your crypto for you, similar to a bank holding your money. And not only does that defeat a major part of the whole purpose of crypto as a decentralized, permissionless network, but we've also seen this go wrong quite a few times now with Mt. Gox, FTX, Celsius, where people storing their crypto on these platforms lost access to their funds completely as a result of either a hack or mismanagement of funds being a common one. You also risk the government just coming in and saying basically no, or seizing the funds. But guys, there are ways to avoid these types of risks, and that's what I'm going to show you next in this video. That's why we say things like not your keys, not your coins. You need to have control over your private keys in order to have full control over your digital assets. And that is a big part of the purpose of crypto. Not only is there a limited supply, anti-inflationary, price go up, cheap, fast global transactions, but it's also a decentralized, permissionless network outside of the control of governments, banks, or any institutions. It is a freedom money, right? And you don't get to experience that part by using exchanges. And we're going to continue diving deeper into these concepts throughout the channel, so don't worry, there's a lot to cover. This is why we have things like software and hardware wallets where you do hold your own private keys without the need for any institutional third party. You are now storing your crypto directly on a decentralized global ledger backed by a transparent international network, whether that's proof of work like Bitcoin or proof of stake like ETH, depending on your crypto you're using. Point being, you have graduated from third-party storage, so congratulations, you avoid that third-party risk. However, you are now taking on a significant amount more responsibility. There's no more customer service now for the most part. Your coins, your funds, your wealth is all in your possession, which is great, but Some people might not like that responsibility. If you are to screw up, you lose your keys or make a bad transaction, that's going to be on you, and there could possibly be no recovering from that. That's not to say you can't screw things up on exchanges either. Like, there still is a degree of risk. If you want no responsibility, then just stick to the banking system, stick to fiat currency, right? Your private keys are your 12 to 24 word numerical passphrase used to sign transaction on the blockchain ledger, proving ownership of the associated cryptocurrency funds. Anyone with access to the private keys has control over the associated digital assets. And with great responsibility comes great power, such as access to any crypto on any blockchain in any ecosystem before it hits the centralized exchanges. And that's where a lot of massive gains can be found, because you're getting access to coins before a massive amount of the crypto community that is not on this level yet. And I show you guys specifically how to find and buy low cap gems before they hit the exchanges on this channel. Take Metamask for example, which is going to be my number one example for software hot wallets. It's a great way to access a number of blockchains. You can see here you got Avalanche, BNB, obviously ETH, and a number of layer 2s. So by using this software wallet, which is downloadable from the internet, you can use it as a browser extension. I can now interact with all these different blockchains directly using these different dApps, whether I want to exchange tokens, provide liquidity and earn yield, trade with leverage on a protocol like GMX, lend and borrow, all these things I wouldn't be able to do on a centralized exchange. Number one thing being those access to those early tokens. You're really setting yourself ahead of the crowd when you are on this level. So there you have it, guys. That's the main reasons to use software wallets. They are also free to use. Two of my favorites are Metamask, like I said, for Ethereum and other ecosystems, and number two is the Phantom wallet, which I like to use for Solana, and they actually have just integrated Bitcoin into that. So that's two more ways you can store your crypto using software. These both have a really nice user experience, almost on the level with exchanges, but you get the power and responsibility of holding your own private keys. Last thing about these are they're called hot wallets because they are connected to the internet. This makes them more susceptible to online threats like hacking and malware, which is why we bring in cold storage hardware wallets. This is like the final boss of storing your crypto. You've graduated from exchanges, you've outgrown software wallets, you've reached the final boss, cold storage hardware wallets, which is to be considered the safest and most secure way to store your crypto. It's also, of course, the most complicated. And I've got 5 different examples here from 3 different brands. They each have their advantages and disadvantages that I'll go through. One thing that makes them the same compared to the other methods is the private keys are generated and kept offline on an external hardware device as seen here, reducing the risk of exposure to online threats like hacking and malware. But obviously you do have a physical item here, which is going to come with a cost to it, unlike the other downloadable options or the exchanges. But you're in the big leagues now, and these things only have a one-time cost of about $50 to $200, maybe more depending on which wallet you're getting. So it's not too much for maximizing your security, but if you're only keeping a small amount of crypto, like a few $100s or maybe 1,000, it might not be worth it. You got to balance your costs there. These things can also be a little bit more complicated to use. You have an external device now, plus some software you're likely going to be interacting with. So it is an extra step of complication for that added security. It makes sense, right? These are definitely going to be for more long-term storage for advanced users holding larger amounts, because the user experience is just not as ideal for the day-to-day transactions, as you will need to interact with an external device. And I'll go through the pros and cons of each of these, starting with the Tangem card. This is going to be the cheapest of the bunch. I think I bought this for about $50 for the 3 cards. And the difference with this one, you don't actually need to write down your seed phrase. You actually are never even given it. Although you still control the keys because they are generated within the card, you just tap and it auto generates, stores the keys, and you tap to sign transactions. This is like the most amateur way of doing cold storage. You don't have to worry about your seed phrase, just keep track of the cards, making Tangem wallet the cheapest and least sophisticated hardware wallet on the list. If you lose a card, just order some more and transfer the funds. If you lose all 3 cards at once, then I guess you're kind of screwed at that point because you don't have your seed phrase written down anywhere. There are plenty disadvantages to not knowing your seed phrase in the matter of that you have to interact in this specific way through the NFC tap technology, whereas if I have my seed phrase, I can enter that in any wallet, anytime, anywhere, and access my funds. I can have my seed phrase memorized in my head, travel across the border, and access my funds anywhere. Whereas with this, I need the physical card and I need a specific software to interact with to access the funds. So Tangem is very fun, very practical in some ways as far as convenience, but also impractical in others. It also has a lot of cryptos that you can store on here, and like I said, no seed phrase. Unlike these examples, the Ledger and the Trezor, which do generate a seed phrase for you offline for you to write down, and you can access your funds forever with or without your device as long as you have that seed phrase. But the device does give you a decent user experience. That's really all the device does. It's for generating the private keys offline, providing user experience, and signing transactions. And that's the main difference between these 4 right here and the rest. So you can see I have 4 wallets left from 2 different brands. The main difference between the brands is the Trezor, these 2, are open source code. That means that everything to do with the code on these is open source, available to the public, nothing shady going on behind the scenes. With the company, it's all very transparent. The con with that is hackers and bad actors also have access to that code, and some professionals have found ways to access private keys through what we call a force or hard attack. If they get access to your device, essentially someone breaking into your house and robbing you, that's the only real liability. Other than that, it's just your own personal error. But honestly, I kind of like that, and I'm not so worried about that situation because it's basically the same risk as if you're storing cash or precious metals at the house. Except on top of that, the burglars have to be some very highly sophisticated hackers. So you really just have to keep up with your home security, and at this point, you should be doing that regardless, of course, maybe of the safe or alarm system, etc., right? With the Ledger, however, all the code is closed source. With that, there has never been any record of any hacker being able to extract private keys through the physical device or a hard force attack, right? So there's an advantage there. However, the coding is not transparent, so you are putting trust to some degree in this company that they are not being nefarious or any bad actors within the company. A few months back, there was that whole scandal about this new seed phrase recovery service Ledger started offering, and a lot of people were freaking out because they're wondering how is Ledger able to recover these keys, this and that. So something to consider there. Personally, I'm not too worried about it. I think the intentions are good, but sometimes the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's why I like to diversify my storage. I don't keep too much money on any one device. Spread it out in case something goes wrong with one, so you don't lose everything. I think that's the general moral of the story here in this video. Diversify your storage. Use all these different types of method. That is the best way to store your crypto. And to be fair, my one Ledger is too old to be affected by that upgrade, and I haven't bought any others since this announcement. I still do use the Ledger X for a fraction of my portfolio. The difference between these 2 wallets from these is they're just essentially upgraded versions offering an upgraded premium user experience with larger screens, bigger buttons. This one has a rechargeable battery and Bluetooth. You can connect to an app on your phone for a nice UX, which is pretty cool. You're gonna pay about an extra $100 or so for these upgrades, and it's strictly for user experience. There really is no additional safety or security added. I would argue they are potentially more vulnerable with these extra features like Bluetooth and such as we start to add these things on. So just to summarize, guys, I've gone through 10 ways to store your crypto today. I use all these methods. I suggest you diversify your storage in case anything goes wrong with one method. I suggest trying all the methods depending on your budget. Your cold storage hardware wallets are going to be your safest, most secure, but also most complicated. Ideal for long-term storage of significant amounts of crypto you don't plan to access frequently, compared to say exchange storage, more ideal for ease of use and accessibility, making them more suitable for day-to-day transactions and holding small amounts of crypto to mitigate that third-party risk. Software or hot wallets being kind of that middle ground between the two. If this layout here is the scale, you can see over here we're prioritizing security, and here to this end we're prioritizing convenience. Once you get to that level where you have thousands of dollars, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars, you probably want to be leaning more towards like 70% in cold storage, maybe 10 to 15% software, 10 to 15% on exchanges. But again, it depends on what you're personally doing with your funds, right? It's all personal. For me, that's a pretty good balance at this stage of the market if you are responsible and passionate to learn the depths of this stuff. If not, hell, maybe you just want to stick to investing in the ETF and let someone else handle your funds. That could be completely understandable depending on who you are. That's a different story, and there's pros and cons involved with that we'll dive into in another video. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We've covered a lot today, and there's still so much to dive into on this topic. So many other great ways to store, but like I said, sub up, leave a comment if you guys have any questions or anything you want me to cover. Hit that like button, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Peace.